After making over $900 million at the box office and delighting both critics and audiences alike, it was a foregone conclusion that Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle would get a sequel. With the same director and same writers, mostly, joined by the cast from the 2017 hit along with a few new faces, Jumanji The Next Level takes viewers back into the video game world and on a familiar journey with some unexpected twists. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and this is Leaving the Theater. All right, this is Ronald, and once again, I'm leaving the theater after seeing Jumanji The Next Level in Dolby, real black screen, y'all know how it is. I'm here with my friend and guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
This is Curtis.
Yes, and I brought Curtis on because typically we either like the movie or we very much disagree, and we'll bring him in for his opinion in a little bit. Oh. Thing is open. You could have went up there. Okay, so I liked it. If I'm being honest, I did some research beforehand, and I saw that they kept the same director and the same writers, and largely the same cast. Matter of fact, it was exactly the same cast. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, Jack Black, Nick Jonas, Colin Hanks, Reese Darby, and notable additions Awkwafina, Danny Glover, Danny DeVito, all were important members of the new cast. I think that establishing the same cast, establishing the same writers and directors, lent itself to making the movie have the exact same feel as the first one. So everything that I liked about the first one absolutely shone through again in this one. There was some very good writing, very funny movie, lots of laughs from the beginning to end. Some of the performances I think I will point out the most would be, well, my favorite would be Kevin Hart as an old black man. Awkwafina, which I don't want to get into too much the role that she played, but her acting was very good. And of course, Jack Black had to play two different roles in the movie, and you'll see that as it goes. As most people know, the avatars in the game are playing the people that are playing the game, so they have to act like them. So in terms of a feat of acting, what each actor has to actually do is fairly impressive for it to be this type of movie. Like, this isn't really like, it's gonna be like your art house film or what floor are you on? Lord Jesus, you gonna be on the first? Have you heard this show? I don't do good on stairs, man. So in terms of a feat of acting, it really worked out. With regards. Oh Lord Jesus, you done worked my thought out of my head. This one. What?
Explore.
Oh, you got to explore. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So, in terms of acting, we'll just stand right here for a minute. In terms of acting, very good. Art house. No, I got to get it together. I'm telling you, it's not good. But in terms of acting, not an art house film, but still a heavy lift in terms of a comedy. Really enjoyed Kevin Hart as an old black man. Awkwafina, Jack Black, I think those performances stood out to me. Not to say everybody else's wasn't great. We were all great, but those three, I think, were the best. What do you think, Curtis?
I have to agree. Kevin Hart was just amazing. Usually he does the same repetitive roles, but this one was I think was a different take for him, and it was definitely a good look for him. It showed not his range, but just that he can do other things. But he was very funny. Awkwafina, I didn't do any research like you, but she was tremendous to me. She was so funny, especially changing characters within characters. Like, it was a different look. I didn't do any research like you. I just knew I liked the first one, and I wanted to see the second one.
Absolutely. I think one thing to note about Kevin Hart is most people that this is the type of Kevin Hart that everyone likes. Like, this is Kevin Hart being funny. He doesn't have to do much more than be funny.
He doesn't overact.
Exactly.
He doesn't overact.
100%. And I think if you look at his stand-ups and stuff, you get a lot of the same thing. And like Curtis was saying, this is completely different from what he's normally doing, but he's still the Kevin Hart that pops into a movie and makes it funny, and he shines in this movie. I would also say the good thing about this, beyond the acting, writing, and directing, are the layers of the film. What I found in the beginning was they established these characters, and these are lesser-known actors, which I didn't even get their names in here, but they'll be on the show notes. But these are the lesser-known actors that play the actual people playing the game, and I care about them. Yeah. And I found they established the movie in a way that made me care about them from the movie before, but also about them and their relationships and the journey that they're about to go on.
Oh yeah, especially leaving high school, going to college, and how relationships change, and you kind of get insecure. Yeah. I didn't grow up with social media, but you see it how you can look at each other, and maybe someone's life looks better on social media, so it makes you feel a certain way. Yeah. But if you're not speaking and talking to each other, then that's where you can misconceive things and kind of drift apart.
Agreed. And and I think they established that layer very well. But once they establish that layer, the next level is the game characters, which you also care about. So like when they get into the game, you actually find yourself caring about Dr. Eric Bravestone, or what's his name?
Dr. Bravestone.
Yeah, Dr. Bravestone. And
they actually did how his parents were killed. They didn't show that in the first one.
Exactly.
So,
they established they established a little backstory. So you're like, oh, so and you're a gamer too, right?
Yeah, I play games.
Yeah. So like you're watching as like two people who play games. You watch it, you're like, okay, this checks out. You care about the people, you care about the people in the game, and then the acting blends all of the two together. Yeah. So in terms of that, like, just funny all the way through. The story was fantastic. I mean, and the story doesn't have it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of keeping it fresh. It didn't feel repetitive.
Yeah.
Like it was the same movie, but it wasn't. Like they found a way to make the game different and the characters different, where The Rock was The Rock, but a different take. Like it was very well done.
Yes, and we're not saying enough about The Rock. The Rock did great. The Rock, it wasn't just his normal thing that it was a lot of what we normally get to see with The Rock. But in this one, we get to see a little bit more of his range. In the first one, you get to see him act more like Spencer, and that's the novel. But they decided to take the novelty up a notch. And this from the preview, that when they're dropped into the game, The Rock is being controlled by Danny DeVito, and who is Spencer's grandfather, and Kevin Hart is being controlled by Danny Glover. And that interaction between the two of them, because they have an established conflict outside of the game that they're working through when they're playing the game, and that lends itself for a lot of jokes. So overall, I thought the film had a lot of heart. I was really surprised by how much. Like towards the end, it started to get me a little bit especially when she, well, we can't, I don't want to spoil, but there was a couple parts where you're watching it, it's like, it starts to get you a little bit. And I was like, man, is this, I'm about to cry in this summer blockbuster film?
Well, I wasn't near tears, but it had a lot of heart. I do say that. It hits on friendship very well.
Yes, agreed. I think the friendship hit is probably one of the most important parts of the film. So if you like the first one, more than likely you're going to like this one too. I definitely walked in thinking I was going to like this, and when it came on, I liked it. I think if I had any drawbacks, I think in the middle it got a little slow, but that wasn't very long. Like it felt like in the middle I was like, okay, come on, let's get somewhere. But then it did. It was good. This is perfect because it dropped in December, so for a lot of people that have families, want to see movies, bring your kids, bring your grandparents. I would give this movie a 3.5 of 5 stars. And that's a 5 stars. Curtis, what would you give this movie out of 5 stars?
Out of 5, I think that's a good range, about 3.5. Yeah. It was it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't great. It's like right in the middle. It's a very good movie and a very good sequel.
Yes. That's, what, and we didn't even say that. In terms of it being a sequel, you don't ever get to see sequels be as good as the original. And this was, I'd say, pretty close.
It was pretty, it wasn't better, but it doesn't take anything away from it either. So
it certainly wasn't worse. So, and with that, we just got back to Curtis's car, so you know what that means. Oh, I can't even find my other This is the magic of editing. I lost it again.
Yeah, he's going to chop this up.
Yeah, now this is getting out of here. Okay, here we go. All right. Leaving the Theater is a production of ohitsBigRon Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can get updates about this show and other ohitsBigRon Studio shows by following me on Twitter and Instagram at ohitsBigRon. That's at ohitsBigron. If you like this podcast, check out our sister podcast, Time Well Spent. Leaving the Theater, this is still one of our newer episodes, so if you get a chance, please go on iTunes, rate it 5 stars, review it, tell everybody you love it, so we can get new ears on the show. Curtis, I'm so glad that we agreed on this one, and thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem, man. It was an honor to be invited. I hope we can do more, honestly.
Absolutely. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. See you at the movies.